to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at AmericasVoiceNow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. This is our third segment. If you're not aware of it, we are migrating our show to a 2-hour format every day because we recognize that 1 hour just ain't enough to fire all the ammunition they throw at us. Our third topic this morning is related to NSA and the massive infrastructure that is being built that is so violative of our rights as American citizens. And this is an important... I wrote a story and posted it up over the weekend called NSA, DHS, and Border Spying is the Final Straw to Tyranny in America. So I'm going to spend a few minutes going on this, and I'll tell you why. We need to understand exactly where we are in this miasma of tyranny that is being perpetrated on America. So what we need to understand is, first of all, we now have to acknowledge we live in a police state. I'm going to prove it to you by the end of this segment. Because every American needs to be aware of just how dangerous and harmful it is that they are building dossiers on every single American. And they're doing it in a way in which you never quite realized that it could be done. That whether these citizens and people out there who are being monitored and these files being built on them are guilty of some or suspicious or not, they have a need and a right to know. And secondarily, these people who say, I don't do anything wrong, so I don't care, had better begin to care, because it affects them in ways that they haven't even considered yet. If they do refuse to acknowledge the danger that they're in, I submit that they're being intellectually dishonest, and that they are endangering not only themselves, but you, because their failure to stand up and push back is allowing this government to get acquiescence and agreement by silence. Silence under the law is agreement. And if the United States of America wants to end this tyranny, they're going to have to do so by, for all intents and purposes, standing up and saying, we don't agree, we're not in acquiescence, we are not silent about it either. So you can't claim our mission is agreement. Here's what you need to know. The way they're doing this is by using the 6 degrees of separation model. Now, if you're not familiar with that, many of you have probably remember the old game of 7 steps back to Kevin Bacon, right? Which declared that, anyone could be tied back to Kevin Bacon in 7 moves. Well, I know this person, and he knows that person, and that person worked at a movie studio where the producer who knows Kevin Bacon. Boom, you're there. Okay. Understand how 6 degrees of separation works. Even if you believe yourself to be innocent and therefore immune from this immense dragnet that's being shoveled down our throats, what you don't know can hurt you. And here's how. With the revelations that the president came out with the other day, and his statement, which was very, very interesting, because what he said is, we're not listening to everyone's phone calls. What he really was saying between the lines is, we have access to them, we're just not actively listening. Until, and this is a New York Times report that came out that says the NSA is searching the contents of messages to and from the United States. Another article where the DHS is building and utilizing the constitution-free zones, and that's the ACLU's language, not mine, where they're searching every American's electronic records. But what you need to understand is that the way this works is this. They say they're not listening to you unless you have communicated with someone overseas. Okay. So what they do when that happens is they take someone who has spoken with someone overseas, and that person is now watched. Then they take every communication that that person makes, and they tag all of those as potentially suspicious. Then they take every person who's now under that new blanket of suspicion, and they follow their phone calls back to everyone and their emails and all their communication. And if you get the idea here, it's this. If you communicate with someone who communicates with someone you don't even know, who also communicates with someone else, again, whom you don't know, who also communicates with someone else, unknown to you, that is a target, you are now a target. And everyone whom you then communicate with this spreads this like a virus. It doesn't take long until the NSA declares that they have the right to monitor everyone, because we're all now under suspicion, under this ever-expanding cloud of guilt by association. That's essentially what it is. This is guilt by association. Furthermore, it won't be long until everyone, if we're not already reached that point, and we'll never really know that because we'll never get the true details of this, it won't be long until everyone is a legitimate target because they have simply communicated with someone who's communicated with someone who's communicated with someone. Don't be naive enough to believe that the federal government doesn't understand the six degrees of separation principle and model. That's what this entire dragnet has been built and predicated upon. If you believe otherwise, you're being intellectually dishonest with yourself, and you're endangering your family, your industry, your business, and all of us. Why would I mention business and industry in that? Well, it's interesting and funny that you should ask. But just think about this for a moment. Suppose you work for a large national or international conglomerate company, and you have information on your laptop or on your cell phone, and you pass within the 100-mile border zone of any American border. And by the way, these borders are all up and down both coasts. It's not just the southern border and the northern border. So you fly in and out of New York, and the NSA or the TSA says, we want to take a look at your electronic information. You then turn over your laptop where someone from the NSA or the TSA or whomever pops in a thumb drive and copies information about this new merger and acquisition that your company's involved in, or a brand new patented product that you've got, or a new real estate deal where you're considering buying a new piece of land to build a brand new manufacturing factory or plant. Well, guess what? That's now for sale to the highest bidder, based entirely upon the subjectivity and the credibility of that given agent who now is in possession of your data. Listen, America, corporate America should be all over this like a hobo on a ham sandwich. They should be filing federal lawsuits over the invasion of privacy into their business. Furthermore, if you don't believe that all of this surveillance and monitoring and spying and dossier development doesn't matter, I have to tell you where it does matter, even to those of you who don't work for a large multinational. Here's how. I want you to take this, and I've thrown this challenge out before, but I want you to hear it again. I want you to go into a public environment, a couple of friends having a beer at a pub, maybe you're out to dinner with another couple that you have a good friendship with. Maybe you're at a baby shower, or maybe you're at a wedding. Maybe you're at some other public event. And I want you to take your cell phone out and place it up on top of the table and say, all of these conversations are now going to be monitored via video and audio by the NSA. And watch the entire conversation cease. Watch the tone, the tenor, and the friendship evaporate. You see, when you think you're being monitored, you're careful what you say. And we don't have to look back in history to see very far to see the results of that. All you have to do is go back and look at Russian history before the wall came down, or East Germany, or China today, or even Russia today, where people are afraid to speak out publicly because anyone could be an agent of the government willing to take that information and say, hey, I know such and such about so-and-so, and I'll tell you what, you guys ought to be aware of him. Except now they don't even need snitches. They've got your cell phone. They've got your laptop. They've got your desktop. They've got all of your internet searches. They've got your medical records. They've got your financial records. Is there any part of this that cannot be used against you? No. And it can be taken out of context. We see that over and over and over again. In fact, how is it we have so many indictments in the United States? Why is it that a nation which has 5% of the global population has 25% of the incarceration percentage? Did you just hear that number? We're only 5% of the nation, of the global population. And yet we have 25% of the global incarceration percentage. That, ladies and gentlemen, is staggering. Why? Because the Justice Department and law enforcement look at us as if we are really, truly products to be caged. We are here only to be productive. We are here to be used. We are here to be providers, regardless of whatever format that may take. And so, you're a milk cow. You're a milk cow. It's that easy. You're here to do your job and pay your taxes. Keep your mouth shut. Do as you're told. Don't raise your head. Don't ask any questions. And those that do are subject to development of dossiers and monitoring taken out of context and used against them. Now, there are those who say, well, I'm not one of those people. I don't have that problem. Well, I beg to differ with you. Even the most trusting and passive person out there has got to acknowledge that at some point, this will reach such a critical mass that even they will be forced into taking action against this. How do I say that? How dare I make that broad an assertion? Well, I'm going to read it to you because it's straight out of the mouths of the founders of the United States of America. It's right out of our Declaration of Independence. And here's what it says. Accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they are accustomed. Let's understand what that says. It says that you are predisposed to suffer this until it becomes so enormously unsufferable, you will be forced to take action. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce these people under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. No matter how willing you are to live underneath the microscope of the federal government, at some point it will become intolerable even to you. It will become intolerable to you because you're going to be sitting in your living room and that you will suddenly become aware of the fact that your entire life is being monitored. And suddenly friends are disappearing or being prosecuted or being persecuted. By whom? IRS is a good example. We're already seeing that. You don't have to look far into the future. In fact, you can look into our past to see it's already happening. And so when this affects you on a personal level, and family members of yours who are outspoken, or who are willing to step up and say, I don't agree, when they begin to be persecuted, prosecuted, or simply disappear, at some point, even you, the most passive individual on the planet, will have to say, we can't accept this any longer. And by then, the noose will have already been around your neck, and it's too tight, your hands are tied, the hood is on. You get the picture. See, the real problem here is that right now, we already don't have a level of privacy in the United States of America that is equivalent to what most other countries have. Isn't that amazing? The land of the free now actually has greater surveillance than most other nations on the planet. That's a scary thought. Because if you can find one example for me of how that dossier will be used for your benefit, I'll concede I'm completely wrong. But I don't think you can. I don't think you'll find a legitimate, viable example. I challenge you to try. Ask yourself this question. How long will it be before it is illegal to have private communication and conversations? The answer? That was yesterday. It's already there. The fact that they are imposing this massive dragnet on us is proof right off the bat that we are already living in a police state. The question is, who has access to this information, and when will it be used against you? Not if. Key operative word, when. You better recognize it, because at this point in time, it's almost too late. You see, your hands are already tied behind your back. The noose is already around your neck. And the only difference is they haven't put the hood on yet. Government has no authority to regulate and limit and monitor our private communications, period, unless we let them. The challenge is, when will you stand up and say, I've had enough? When will you participate to protect yourself, those in your care, those within your circle of influence, and the rest of us? Many of us are already doing so. You're watching this program now. The Ministry of Propaganda, that is the mainstream media out there, is not telling you the whole truth. There are selected organizations that are spilling the beans, but the vast majority of them are silent. And that means that the vast majority of Americans are unaware of the true depth of their danger. The correct way to look at this is to evaluate it under a cost-benefit model. The cost to you is 100% loss of all privacy. I challenge you to find a benefit for you. I challenge you. In fact, I dare you. I double, triple dog dare you. You won't find one. It's that simple. You see, President Obama came out the other day on the Jay Leno show and said, you have a better chance of being killed in an automobile accident than you do from terrorism. I agree with that. But you see, what you need to understand is the infinitesimal opportunity for you to actually be killed in a terrorist attack is so minuscule that you have to look at that and say, under the cost-benefit analysis, how much am I paying for this potential safety? And potential it is. The FBI admits, and the NSA admits, and the DHS admits, they couldn't find the Boston bombers. Now, whether or not they really did and allowed it to happen anyway as some predetermined excuse so that they could go ahead and do what they wanted to do, I don't know. And we'll never know. Because if there's one thing that trillions of dollars worth of black ops budget money does, it's hide the truth. But what we do know is this. If they can't keep two guys from living in Boston from building a bomb, then how is it that they can justify building dossiers on every American? And where would that lead them? The needle in the haystack theory doesn't hold true when we talk truly about terrorism. You see, if that's the case, And there's another article out this morning that says that just having the word Osama in an email subjects you to scrutiny. So if you've ever sent an email to a friend that at the time that Osama bin Laden was killed, let's just assume for argument's sake that you sent an email to a friend that said, "Did you see the news about Osama bin Laden?" You're now a target for monitoring. You're not guilty of anything other than asking a friend who lives in a foreign nation or in a foreign state. You see, that is the qualifier. Now, suddenly you're a target, whether you live overseas or not, because the keyword of Osama came up. What other keywords are there that we don't know about? 9/11? Boston bombing? I mean, we don't even know. We do know there was a woman out there who recently came out and exposed the fact that she was searching for pressure cookers online, and her husband was searching for backpacks online, and suddenly they received visits from state agencies who were notified by his previous employer that they found that to be disturbing. Come on, people. You got to be kidding me. So a guy looks up backpacks and he's trying, because he's planning on going for a camping trip with his son, and he simultaneously looks up the idea of getting his wife a pressure cooker because she's asked for one, and he's just trying to determine which is the best brand. And suddenly he's under suspicion as a domestic terrorist. Oh, please, come on. All of this surveillance is really outside the scope of anything necessary to protect us. And the truth of the matter is, if they were really interested in protecting us, the first thing they'd do would be seal the border. Seal the border. We know for a fact, by the DHS's own admission and Border Security's own admission, that a significant number of Middle Eastern people are pouring over the border pretending to be Mexicans. That's not me saying that. Go look it up. Do the homework for yourself. All I'm here to do is expose the truth. Tell you what the mainstream media won't tell you. What you do with that knowledge and information is entirely up to you. But the correct way to look at this is in a cost-benefit analysis. And I can tell you right now that there is no way on heaven or on hell or on earth that you're going to come up with a plausible excuse for how these dossiers are going to benefit you as an American. Please find us on the web at AmericasVoiceNow.org. Find us on Facebook at Facebook.com/AmericasVoiceNow. And make sure that you also find us and this and every other program that we do at YouTube. We have a YouTube channel there. You can comment on these stories. You can simply send a link to a friend in an email and say, hey, here's a story you ought to check out. We encourage you to do that because it helps to spread the word, wake and educate Americans. Remember, our goal is to educate and inform, to motivate and activate. Educate you about what's going on around us, inform you so that you can inform and educate your circle of influence, motivate you and your circle of influence to take action, and then follow through. Get a hold of your congresspeople. Coordinate with your friends, your local community. Be a community organizer. We'll see you in a few minutes. We're going to come back and touch on GMOs.